Danke por estar conosco no programa Alcaso. Me está extender a seguinte hora de programa, seguro para tratar tema sumamente interessante, tema que nós temos vista que praticamente Alcaso está de búsqueda de último ano, fazendo que nós por trazer informação que quizás por quebra todo o conceito não robês arriba tema assim amplo e interessante. Nós compreendemos que por motivo de religião, quizás alguma pessoa não está aceitar o programa aqui, qual nós pede dispensa e nós está respeitar totalmente. Mas para esse não, que quizás quer conhecer tique mais de tema aqui, então me tem invitado para espaço aqui, para de forma que nós vai explorar, conhecer de cerca e ganhar a máxima informação possível para o que está vida depois de morto. O programa, sin embargo, está seguindo em inglês. Me tem como invitada, que é uma pessoa que nasce com o dom de por conectar. Ele tinha dom de ter uma ventana para o mundo na qual cada de nós lo vai, agora que nós não tem mais. Nós também seguimos o programa na inglês. For me, with great pleasure, Lisbeth, I appreciate to have you with us today, and especially with this subject that you have this great gift, I would say that. You having this great gift of mediumship. There are different words, there are different denominations. Some of them with stigma, some of them are stigmatized so bad that people associate with the worst of what can happen in the spiritual world. But thank you for accepting the invitation, and we are open to get into your mind and heart, and so that you can explain us and teach us about this gift that you have.
Well, thank you so much. Really lovely to be here. And of course, I would love to explain, because there's a lot of things to explain about medium and mediumship. There is.
I always make a reference of Allan Kardec, which is the father of Spiritism. Initially, he started with a Ouija board. He started connecting with the spiritual world, and they start getting answers. But I understand there's a difference between spiritists and spiritualists, and there's a lot of difference between channeling, medium, trance. There are so many words associated with this gift. But take your time and teach us what's the difference and what are the important things we have to know about it.
Well, first of all, I like to start with the fact that I don't think of it as a gift, because it doesn't make me more special or anything else. I like to see it as a talent. Okay. Because first of all, we are all intuitive. We all have intuition. Mm-hmm. It's part of the human condition. And just like animals have an intuition, and there are still people in the world who use this intuition within their daily life, within their community. And we used to do the same thing. But especially in the Western world, we've drifted away from that part within us. We're so much more focused on the material and the physical aspects that we've somehow pushed away that part of us, that essence, the spirit, which is actually us, our intuition, our spirit, our force. So intuition is already there. And of course, some people are more talented than others. It's like, some people can sing beautifully. Some people can play the piano. But playing the piano doesn't mean you're going to be a concert pianist in the Royal Concert Hall, okay? So for some reason, I already had this talent and I've developed it, but it also became stronger because some of my loved ones passed away, of which 4 of them passed away in 1 year, which had a tremendous effect upon me and my intuition, because something was opening up and it was so powerful, I couldn't ignore it. I just couldn't ignore it. And that's when I came into the study of what is going on? What is going on with me? Why are my loved ones still with me? How is it possible I can connect? And that's when I started to do studying. I've read many, many books. I haven't read the book about Allan Kardec, but I know of him. I know what he's about. It's the same period that also Madame Blavatsky, I don't know if you heard of her, there was this sort of philosophy about mediumship, but also their feeling and their conviction that there is also reincarnation involved. Now, I'm a spiritualist, and I studied the spiritualism also in a college in England. And a lot of spiritualist churches, you must know, came from Christian churches. But spiritualism developed, and they feel that our essence, our soul, is a unique thing. So there's development, there's evolvement, which will continue even after death. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we will reincarnate. The difference between spiritism and spiritualism is all about the reincarnation subject mostly. And that's where you felt, beginning of 19th century, there was a split within that stream of people who were busy studying mediumship and practicing mediumship. And so somehow Allan Kardec moved the other way, and the spiritualists and the spiritualist churches who uphold the 7 principles of spiritualism had a different religion, different philosophy. So that, first of all, there is a difference between a spiritist and a spiritualist. And again, it's all words, you know. It's so hard, eh? When we talk about medium, we first also have to acknowledge, what is a medium actually? What is a medium? Medium, the literally, is a link, a conduit, nothing else. It's the conduit and the link between the material world and the world of spirit. So our loved ones, but also this bigger realm of intelligence and force. And you can tap into that. You know, once you get into a sort of altered state, you can reach your loved ones, but you can also reach into some knowledge. It's like being inspired. You know, we all have moments of inspiration. And even when you tend to get into a deeper form of meditation already, sort of a lighter trance feeling, I call it altered state. I prefer that word much more than trance, because people think of trance as, you know, the spooky stuff and being out of control. And you have to be very well balanced first before you, if you take this pathway of mediumship, you have to know yourself first. You have to be whole and balanced. You have to be connected to yourself, because how else can you otherwise connect to other people here or to your loved ones, your spirit? So it's very important to know that mediumship, first of all, is what is the position of the medium. And mediumship, when I'm working as a medium, it's not about me. It's about the person in front of me, my client, and it's about the people who want to come forward for my client. And again, I am not forcing anyone to come to me. You know, I came here out of free will, you didn't force me. It's the same thing in spirit. I can't force your father or mother, your brother, your sister, whoever to come to me. No. You know, when we pass away, we choose our own pathway, in our own time, in our own space. And again, in this life, it's like attracts like. So even the people in the spirit world will know, okay, is this a person I'd like to go to? You know? Right. So I always say there is a medium for everyone, but I'm not a medium for everyone.
You feel that there are people maybe that they have this talent, not calling it gift, no, that they have this talent and as you say, feeling inspired, and you think that they can even connect with their loved ones without even knowing it?
Yes, they can. Yeah.
And like in your case, you've made an entire study of this, and knowing yourself and having a balance, being a balanced person, you know what's different between left and right in the spiritual world. So there are many people that lost their loved ones, and in an altered state, not altered states, in an inspired state, they got messages from their loved ones. But our system, the Western world or the industrialized world, the material world just pushed away all this knowledge. You think that spiritualism was more connected to the church in the past centuries than now?
Well, there was this thing that there were more spiritualist churches, but I think it's really good to know that a lot of spiritualists were the people who helped to move this world forward. Because a lot of spiritualist people were philosophers, were scientists, were statesmen, so very important people. And a lot of things in this modern society, like women voting, animal rights, schooling, even labor law, not people having long hours of working, was a lot of these things came down to spiritualists. So it's all about modernizing, but also helping to help this world move forward. And I think it's really important to stress that mediumship, me as a medium, I feel mediumship is about helping yourself and others, and therefore this society, move forward. And like I said before, we all have this intuition, we can all tune into that. But before you can tune in, you first have to know yourself. You really have to accept yourself for who you are. And once you get into this inspired state, you will be able to pick up things from loved ones, whether it's by a feeling, by an image, maybe even by a smell. Because I'm convinced that everyone already had this experience at least once in their life. I know, even you already had experience from loved ones that you knew, oh, this is my wife, this is my grandfather, my grandmother. I now know, you just know. It's clear knowing. I call it clear knowing. I just know that right now, someone is with me.
Lisbeth, I interviewed, I made a special program dedicated to the death. We recorded it in the cemetery. We recorded it. As a matter of fact, my plan was to do this program in the cemetery.
Oh, I would have loved that. No, really. I often visit cemeteries. Yes. There's one in Amsterdam. It's like a beautiful park. It's so peaceful, and I love that. It sounds weird, and some people may think she's crazy, but I love it. It's beautiful.
So I already have a couple of spots, very nice spots in the cemetery.
Take me there.
We did a program there, but. Interesting to say that the program that was dedicated to the death, I interviewed an undertaker.
Rado de Kelder, da Elvin Tokay. Den e Santana ki mita trapo mo 10 ans acaba. Sa wana basura kinan. Eta full apart voor die tour outro Santana nang amitanya. Passomba eta completamente de aire libre, de natureza, então mita sentimi hopi maminhão aqui dentro de todo Santana. Mi com meu colega só tá traquelda, que me sei nós dois só com nós só, pero outro banda tá com tindia, nós tem com tapa boca, assim inteiro. Então ora nós tá assim inteiro e nós tá com família não. Então nós está conversar com nanda conversar com nós. Então é remarcável tá que a mim nunca me tá espantado nada de Santana, me tem medo de Santana. Então é gente não se com nós capaz de não ser querido com nós tá dera não ser querido. Também contava com ela a bichita de ser querido com ela porta da lá abrir será luz acende paga. Tu é quando nanta conta, mas antes me notava worry que quando me teve quando a história nanta. Pero a você me começar a querer passar da quase tudo hora tá contar me então quase tudo é diferente e a você me tá querendo que tá assim na me.
So now he said, I can't say I don't believe. I say no, I believe. So every story, that's correct. So every story I heard, I take it seriously. Because it's happening to the living souls like I am. So, just to put more knowledge to what you're saying, that I would say life after life, or that's the real life.
Maybe, I think we're already spirit, that's our real life. Yes. And we are ignoring our real self a lot of times because we're so fixated on this material thing, about a job, a house. Of course we have to make money, but even today, in the world of social media, everything is about the exterior. But I think it's beautiful, and I feel mediumship is within us, that we can just look and connect with each other like we are doing right now. And I'm not looking at you, what you're wearing, what your role is or your position, because we're all human. We're all spirit. We all come from this great force of nature, the natural laws, call it God, call it Allah, whatever, but we have to accept the fact there is something that's much bigger than us. So we're all the same. We're a brotherhood. And mediumship is about this brotherhood, and it's one of the principles in spiritualism, the brotherhood of man, the fatherhood of God. But not the God like some in the Christian churches or other churches perceive God, but personally I perceive God as this whole constellation of the natural laws, of which the love, and all the natural laws, we are governed also by natural laws. You know, the law of cause and effect, but also the laws that bind us together through love. And I believe life and love never dies. So exactly, it's life after life.
And the most important thing that Jesus came to teach us, 3 essential things. One is the universal love of God, most important one. The second one is compassion, where others are involved and you can really be compassionate to your brothers and sisters. And the third one is forgiveness. And I'm sure that your talent and what you do and people that consult with you, forgiveness, I'm sure it appears many times.
It has, yeah. If I can give you one example. Quite recently I did a private consultation with someone and I was overwhelmed by emotion, and that was because my client was a man and his brother came through to me. But I felt this enormous guilt and he wanted to cry and he was so sorry, and it turned out that he had abused my client when he was younger. So there was sexual abuse involved. But I would never forget that moment where both of them, you know, not just my client, but also the person, his brother in spirit, got healing. They got healing from this session, and it's like my client being with me somehow had opened this door, like his brother, to each other. And I think that's beautiful. And you know, my sessions only take 15 minutes normally. And I think it's beautiful if within those 15 minutes people can just connect again with themselves and forgive themselves also, and can forgive each other. And that's healing, that's compassion.
Correct.
And that's beautiful. And I think that's my consultations and my demonstrations are all about that.
Correct. Televidentes, está aquí pues tratando un tema así de interesante. Nós vai estar tratando mais, e nós vai tratar outro tema na maneira, como viajar lamentavelmente nossa escuta para o que está suicídio. Quizás hopita e tata e mama não com a perna de forma aqui. E nós vai puntar Lisbeth realmente Kiko of com está conectar com o mundo ora está trata de caso não assim. Esse é mais para nós ver. As I just explained, Lisbeth, psychic and mediumship. Maybe for many people it's the same.
Yeah.
They see it as the same thing. Yes. There's no difference.
Yep.
Or they look at it as bad. Yeah. It is just plainly bad. So I don't want to be part of that.
All witches, yeah.
But psychic, we know there are many services on the internet that you can consult.
Yes.
A psychic. But as you explained, you have mediumship and you have psychic. What is really being psychic? What happens in the moment that you connect with another person, with a client, or let's say with someone who needs help?
Yes.
What happens during that connection?
Well, that is the psychic connection, and what I will be doing is tuning into the energy of the person. So, you know, when you would do a consultation with me, you would just we would sit like this, and I would just have the intention of tuning into the energy of who you are, because our essence as spirit is energy. You know, it's not what you're wearing or your title, but it's all within the energy. And everything you've experienced so far is within that energy. So I'm tuning in just into you. Nothing to do with the spirit world. No. It's just me blending my energy with your energy. That's a psychic connection. And within that energy, anything is stored. It's the information about your personality, about your work, who you are, your characteristics, what you like, what you're striving for, even your thoughts, and every other experience you had so far. It's all contained within the energy. And everything that's really important right now within your life of who you are will pop up from that. You know, today at this time, this will pop up. And if you would come in a year or 2 years' time and some other things have happened to you, or if you've had other experiences, then maybe that will pop up as well in the energy. But it's just really me blending with you. So there's nothing to do or no involvement from the spirit world, because it's just me. And a lot of people make the mistake of thinking as a psychic also being the medium. But if you look at the word medium in a proper way, the medium is then a link. It's the link between the people in the spirit world and you. So if I would be a medium and you would come to me for a session, I would tune in to the world of the spirit and their energy. So it's not getting from you, and they will allow me the information or the feeling or the images which I then tell you. And of course, there's always something that I will get from you psychically. And I will always tell people how I work and what is happening. But you know, there's some people who say they are medium and they say, well, I have your mother here and she's saying to you this, 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 this. But in fact, at that time, they don't really have the mother there. They're not linking into the energy of your mother who's in spirit. They're just linking into your energy. And don't get me wrong, that's not bad. But I just really want to make a point of the distinction there. Because every medium is a psychic, but not every psychic is a medium. You understand it?
Yes, correct. When you are in the psychic connection, your talent, the development of your talent is to interpret what the feelings or what is being popped up by the other person, is by interpreting that.
Yes.
Or do you get it in a clear way, a clear connection to you?
It's a connection. Because what I'm doing is just blending my energy, for example, with you. So I would tune in to you.
Can I use the word telepathy? Can I use the word telepathy?
Well, it's more than that, because it's not just mind to mind.
Yes.
Because I get feelings. Yes.
Well, in such a way, does it work that way? That
Yeah.
you can interpret, or do you get it in a clear way? This is the message.
Well, it's through all the senses. So sometimes I really feel something. For example, sometimes I feel physical things with people. Have they been ill or they don't feel well? Sometimes I get things into images. So I see you doing something, or I see you at a different place. Maybe I hear words, or I hear something, or music, or whatever. You know, it's your whole life story so far is within the energy. And we all have the 5 senses, and 6 senses even, where we can just use all those senses to really connect to you. So I can connect to you. So the information comes in totally different ways, but it all comes together in a way where I call it the clear knowing. You just know.
That's right.
But it's through different senses. So it's not just one thing, but the telepathy thing, it is a bit of a mind to mind. And I think every human being had this experience where you felt someone, even though you were far away. You know, you felt your brother or sister, or you felt your friend, and you know something is happening, and it's just like this. But it's actually through this, the feeling, because you are connected. And once you're connected to someone, you will be able to pick up on some things.
So, not every psychic is a medium. In your case, you're a psychic and a medium.
Yep.
So, in your consultations, basically, the psychicness is what you present first.
Mostly I start.
And if it's required to connect to the spiritual world,
Yes.
and that's going to be the
Yes.
next step.
My consultation is always a mixture, but it also...
When people come to you,
Yeah.
do they come basically for the disease? Do they come basically to know what happened to those that passed away?
Some just really want to know about themselves. Some really just want to know about the loved ones, or just see, well, whoever comes through, let me know, it's okay. Most of the times my consultations are a mixture of both, and I like that the best way. I think it's nice to first start with someone and give someone about their own energy, because a lot of people don't trust themselves. They don't allow to trust their own intuition. So when I tell them some things, they already say, "Oh, I knew it. I already knew it, but I didn't trust it."
What stops us to not believe in ourselves? The system?
Many things. It's about you allowing yourself to be you, first of all. It's about where you come from, culture, where you grew up, your environment, your family, your background, religion, the way you developed yourself as well. Because I feel I'm a very disciplined person also. You know, I should have been in the army, really. But I think self-discipline is also self-love. So I really worked and developed myself.
Organized love.
Yes, organized love. I love that. I have to keep that in mind. I really love that. Yeah, that's a good one. Organized love. Self-discipline sounds so, harsh, strict. But no. But there's so many things. But I notice these days that a lot of people don't really connect to themselves. And I always say, the more you focus on your inner world, the less the outer world will affect you. And that's when you are in your own power. That's when you're really connected to your own spirit. And it's so hard today, to stay really true to yourself, because a lot of people think something. They want you to do something. But the funny thing is, we allow that. We are being misled. We are being seduced. There are a lot of things happening around us, but we just allow that sometimes to happen. And we're not true to ourselves, to our own spirit. And especially in this day, also with social media, people posting things on the internet, look at me, I'm like this, like that. And it's not 24/7 happiness also. And we should know and think of this life as a chain of experiences. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are very ugly. I had my share in my life. I didn't have a very nice childhood. Partner committed suicide, a lot of things happened, but I'm still here. And I still feel the power I felt when I was a young girl. So I would love for people to have the experience to really have the sense of their own power and spirit. And within a consultation, when I tune in, it's just holding up the mirror to them. This is how I see you. This is how I recognize you. And they go, oh yeah, but I really felt that already, or saw it. And they get this confirmation, and I love that. And I want them to go home and take it with them, and then start to trust themselves.
Correct.
And that's what mediumship is about.
When we get into, you mean psychicness? Yes, mediumship. Let's say whenever you have a consultation, and it starts with a psychic. The session starts with psychic. Most of the time it does, but there's a stigma that many spirits that you connect to may be fake, may appear as the person you think they are. So is it really so, or does it have to do again with you being a balanced person, knowing yourself in such a way that you can really, by knowing yourself, you can know the others?
Yes, you have to. Because once you really...
I don't know if my question was clear.
No, I think I know what you want to ask, because it's an important question. Because once you tune into the psychic or into the mediumistic level, you have to go beyond yourself. I have to go beyond myself, because it's not about me. And in order to do so, I have to be balanced in body, mind, spirit. When I'm with someone sitting, I can't allow my own experience or feelings or emotions to come through, to interfere. I want to be balanced and clear, because otherwise it will diffuse or confuse the images or things. So if you want to be a psychic or a medium, first step is know thyself, know yourself. And so it requires some development also from your own part in order to get.
Well, the discipline for sure has to be part of it. Because if you see how many thoughts can go through your mind in 1 minute, and now you have to stop them all and blank your mind and just look at the panorama and try to interpret what pops up and what's more important than the other thing. Have you had sessions where that were not the persons that you called? let's say you're in a session, and then suddenly your patient or your customer wants a connection with the deceased. But suddenly the person that the spirit that you connected to is not the real person she wants to be with or he wants to be with.
No, but I always tell people, when you come to me, some people have expectations, yes. They want to know, I liked my father, I want to have my mother, and I tell them, I can't guarantee you that. I don't work with objects or photographs. I just open up. It's like opening the door. I say, I'm here, you can come through, and then we see whoever comes through. Because I can't command them to come.
That's correct.
And like I said before, people really need to link with me also. The people in the spirit world have to like me also.
Yes.
So there's a medium for everyone, but I'm not a medium for everyone.
For everyone, okay.
But the interesting thing is there is an intelligence in the spirit world. Because most of the times those persons come through, the customer or my client wants to come through. But, and this is an important thing also, I'm very much a medium about what is the need of my client, not the want. It's like the example I gave you about the brother and his brother coming through. He expected his father. His father came also, but he didn't expect his brother. But what was happening in that session was I was opening the door. So first came the father, which allowed the brother to move in as well. And I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I even had demonstrations in public where people said, sitting like this, I don't want to talk to my father. I don't want to talk to my father, And then I think, but it's important your father comes through, even though you don't want to talk. Because your father needs to talk to you for a moment to say he's sorry, or to say he wish he'd done things differently. He just wants to say he's here with you now. Now he can be the father he couldn't be. I had the same experience with my father because I haven't seen my father for 23 years. A lot of things happened. And when he passed away, I knew that he would come to me within a few days. So I went to a medium. There was a session in Holland, and this English medium came and said, well, I have your father here. And he gave me a piece of evidence that only he could know my father.
That's right.
And there was one flower I put in the coffin, and the medium said, you put one flower in the coffin. It's funny, eh?
Yes.
So, and I could have sat there and saying, I don't want my father to be here because he was not a very nice man, but I said, oh, that's beautiful, because I'm okay, I've forgiven him, but I think it was more important to him, like you said before. It's forgiveness, it's healing, but especially for him. And how beautiful is that?
That's our life purpose, really. And moving from this physical world to the spiritual world. That's why most of the people, when they're on their deathbeds, or at least those that are fortunate to be on a deathbed and being able to connect with people that need your forgiveness and people that you can ask for their forgiveness. So you can really detach from all those responsibilities and that you can continue with your journey lightweight. Let us put it that way. Televidentes, aqui está o programa Alcaso, tratando o tema da segunda parte que nós não trata, é o tema seguro de suicídio. Nós está tratando agora aqui da última parte de Alcaso. Não vai ler, não vai pessoa. Nós a seguir, pois, com o tema interessante que nós está tratando, nós trata, pois, de pessoa com talento especial, talento que o aguardo desenvolver com o tempo e maneira mais vista dentro da parte do programa, onde a ser querer vários, trai outro, ou finalmente a conduzir na profundização de lo que está no mundo psíquico, lo que está no mundo de mediunidade em especial. Lo que está importante está, e lo que Lisbeth quer realmente também trazer para diante, é temor que nós temos de vida, para confrontar morto. Realmente, com grande temor para confrontar o morto, se o tema que nós estamos tratando agora aqui é vida depois de vida. Morto não te acaba, quizás nós não te acaba, nós está sigue de uma forma energética, pero maneira que quer trazer para adiante arriba a importância de lo que está amor e amor universal, realmente, maneira Jesus a trazer para adiante, três aspectos importantes, é amor universal de Deus, de caso aqui, perdão, vapor, perdonar e compaixão, que nós podemos ser compassivos e que ser seguro, tá uma alimentação direta na nosso espírito e nossa alma. We continue. Sure, one of the subjects that I mentioned before was suicide.
Mm-hmm.
I know that many parents, many person has on Aruba, they have experienced suicide from their loved ones, maybe their daughter, their son, or their wife or their spouse. But what happens with these persons? Why did it happen? I understand that you yourself went
Yes.
through such an
Yes.
harsh experience.
Yes.
But explain to us about this experience and what really happens. What can you tell the loved ones that stay behind about where they can direct their thoughts and their heart?
Mm-hmm. Well, my own personal experience was with my partner, Ben. He committed suicide, and he had been suicidal for many years, even when he was younger. And I always felt there would be a point where he would really do it.
Pull it out, right?
And you know, we have to know that a lot of people don't want to die. They just want a different life. But in their opinion, the only way to do that is to finish this life. But what happened in the case of Ben also is there will still be a moment also of sort of confusion. And that's when I felt he was very much with me. And that's when my whole mediumship exploded, because he was in my house. He was with me. I felt his energy. I felt the cold. Things would be moved. Lamps would explode. So his physical, well, not his physical, his spirit presence was really, really strong. And that's when I started to explore what is happening here. And I felt that he needed to be here. Not that he was really bound to earth, but he himself had to go through this process of, what have I done? What have I done? So he wanted to be with me. He wanted to be with family, to say, I'm still here. I know it's stupid, but I'm still here. And me, as well as Ben, were doing our own way of developing and healing, but we did a parallel way. Because when I was linking with him, he was linking with me, so we could help each other in going through this mourning, this ritual of grief and everything else. And of course, everyone is unique. We all have a unique experience, so I can't speak for everyone, but I do feel there's no condemnation, there's no judgment or whatever, but a lot of realization going on of, okay, I actually have done this. And for most of them, that's quite a shocking experience as well, because there will be confusion, because in fact you didn't want to die. So they will start their own process of healing and development within the spirit world. But meanwhile, they still want to be with us and say, hey, I'm still here. And I'm so sorry I did that. And another thing is, when you pass away, you move away from all the other emotions you had in this life. Your head is getting clearer, because we must think of people sometimes, they are being ill, right? Some of them had a mental disease or had severe trauma. So they acted in a different way. They were not really themselves. And when you pass away, you get this moment of realization and looking back on your life. What have I done? What has happened? So you're much clearer, and then comes this shock, of course. And I think it also helps whether you're prepared or not. This sounds a bit strange, but moving to this next life, after death, so to speak, also depends on the way you've lived your life here. Are you prepared? You know? And I know from Ben, he did his preparation in a way that he was always joking with me. He would always say, okay, if there's something out there, I'll let you know. And he was open to this idea of, there will be another life for me. Mm-hmm. You know, it won't be the end. Because I always told him, if you do this, if you're going to commit suicide, just realize that you have to deal with this, even after death. even after death. And it's not in a bad way, but you still have to deal with things.
Correct.
And so, and also when people die suddenly
But the life in the spirit goes on.
it goes on.
I mean,
exactly.
we're
It goes
living
on.
here in the physical world,
Yes.
but it is my spirit living a physical experience.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
And then as I die, I'm released from the physical experience.
you take off this jacket.
That's correct.
Right? You take the jacket and you move on as
And
spirit.
that brought me to the idea: what is more important, this jacket?
No.
So
No.
you know, are
Your
the
essence.
things that are perishables really that valuable?
No.
You know.
No.
I know, and this is true. This is a true story, where a couple, they said, whoever leaves first, whoever dies first, is going to give a sign, and the sign of you're being okay, you're going to give that sign with white roses. So the female died, and this guy was left behind, and he was driving his car, and suddenly he was out of the city driving, and he just ran into a squall. You know, it was a squall, you know, and suddenly his windows were rolled down, and suddenly all this debris came flying over, and 4 white roses came and landed into the car.
Beautiful.
You know,
Beautiful. That's a manifestation of spirit.
that's correct.
And that is love.
Yes.
And this is the spirit world is all about love and support. And I think that is a beautiful manifestation of the spirit love. And that life and love still goes on, continues. And I've also heard these stories. I've also had that in my private sittings through many ways, roses or through music. They always heard the same song wherever they were. In the strangest places, they would hear a
Here's
song.
the song again.
And they know it's my loved one communicating with you. Or, like you said, the roses, which we would call in mediumship the apport. So a port of the roses, an object being brought to you through spirit is an apport. I've experienced that myself in a seance one time, and it's beautiful. And you know, it takes a lot of energy to be able to perform such thing. And I think that is the most beautiful thing you can get from spirit world. Yeah.
You said that well, it's true. The most important part of living this physical life is love.
Love.
The universal love.
Yes.
Love heals everything. Love lightens up everything.
Yes.
There is no darkness where there is love. How can you, in your sessions, how can you guide many of your clients to this love? How do you manage to get them to think that way? Because for you to get into this stage is knowing that there's life after life, and that love is the most important part that you're traveling with in this journey.
But all begins with the love of self. And sadly, there are a lot
Which
of
is the
people-
most important part.
Yes.
Loving yourself.
Yes, everything starts from there also. And I don't mean
We
like-
can hate ourselves very bad.
Yes, we're so easy. We can, if we do Olympic championships in
On
hating
hating
ourselves,
ourselves,
we would be all
we'd be
champion-
winners.
Yeah,
We'd
we'd be
all be
winners.
winners.
We would be number one winners. That's true, because we do that every time. And I feel people should really take time to start loving themselves. And we're so obsessed about other people, about things. And you know, nowadays you have the mobile phone with you. Every day we're very frantic about plugging in the mobile phone because we need a battery. It has to be 100%.
Right.
But think about yourself. When are you plugging yourself in? Are you feeding yourself with self-love? Are you charging yourself? Are you saying to yourself, yes, I'm here. This is my power. I'm going to emanate my power and my love. In a loving way, not in an arrogant way or egotistical way, but we all have the power of spirit within us.
Explain it in baby steps.
Baby
Please.
steps.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, you know, it's...
Let's say someone that's very harsh with himself. How can you explain this in baby steps?
In baby steps, you know, it takes time. I can't just
For
fix
some
things.
people, to love is very hard.
I know.
You know, only the lack of not forgiving.
Yes.
Or not being able to forgive or to request forgiveness is so hard.
Yes, and
I mean, those are obstructions for love.
They are. And everything starts with these steps of accepting, forgiveness, You know, if the example with my father, if I would have lived in hate all my life, I would have been a different person. But I had to accept the fact that he was the man he was back then, and that I had to move on with my life for my own happiness, my joy, not just for me, but for the people around me.
That's correct.
Because everything we do, we are connected, so it affects me, but also you and everyone else. And the realization first needs to be, this is me, I can be me, and that's so hard, but because it starts with acceptance and self-love and forgiveness. And you have to start with yourself first.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the sessions that you've had, Lisbeth, what are some cases that impressed you the most? That you said, wow, this really knocked me off?
Well, there was the one I just described with you, with the brother. A lot of things are so intense, but this one really stands out. And recently I did a demonstration where a young father came through, because he was quite young when he passed away, in his 30s. And we played a song from a Dutch singer, and he loved this Dutch singer also. So he came in once the music was playing, and you could feel this overwhelming amount of love for his wife and his little daughter. And the whole room could feel this. You could feel the love of this man coming through in a wave. You know, there are so many instances, and this sounds a bit stupid. A lot of them I do forget. It's just to protect myself and to stay clear.
Yes,
and pure,
to not get involved.
Not get involved
with people's emotions.
No, I can do that because I'm like the radio. I switch on and off. You know, like Spirit FM. I call it. I tune into Spirit FM, then I switched off and I move on with my life. But you know, some clients do come back after a year or whatever, and I want to stay clear and I want to be pure in whatever I receive. Otherwise, I would be clouded with the information I already got.
Correct.
And there was one thing I will remember, a session with a man. He used to be in the special forces, and he did several tours in Afghanistan and Iran and Iraq. And one of his friends from his squad came through from his, and that was beautiful. That was so beautiful, because you could feel the camaraderie and the brotherhood and everything they went through, and how he even let me feel that he got shot in the head. And at the time, I only felt the pang in my head. I didn't know. I said, well, it's in his head, it's in his head. And that's when he got shot. But he came through, and then his friend came through, and that was so beautiful. And you could see this big man, you know, he's a soldier, he's a special forces man, and tears running. And it's not about, I don't want people to cry, you know, it's not about that. I don't do that. But
sometimes they cry of happiness too.
It's the love.
Yes.
And you know, I always do this because I think this is important, the soul connection. And whatever you are, whatever you did, and it's the friends, family, colleagues, can be anyone coming through, as long as there is the soul connection and a connection. And I thought that was beautiful.
Lisbeth, we are out of time. I really want to appreciate for you being here today. And we hope we can transmit this program a few times, because a lot was said.
There is.
You explain a lot about the spiritual world and about the purpose of living, which is most important. Yes. Which is most important for all our viewers, the purpose of being yourself.
Yes.
And the purpose of knowing what you came to do on this earth, and what are the better choices you can make. Yes. And how to live the remaining years of your life. And that's going to be a connection to the real life, which is the spiritual life.
Yeah, because we're already a brotherhood.
That's
you know, we always remind ourselves we're a brotherhood of man.
Lisbeth, thank you very much. I hope
you.
on the next occasion I can interview you again.
I would love to come back.
Because I know there's a lot.
There's so much more. We can't do that in a few minutes. We can't do that. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisbeth.
Thank you.
Todos están acá, pues nos espera de por aí informado e com verdade. O programa aqui possível vivo para por abrir a mente e compreender pouco mais de Kiko realmente, e o que é importante para lá atrás, amor universal, estima, perdonar e ser compaixonado no mundo aqui. Danke para mira, danke para escuta, invitando-vos para outro programa de Alcaso, de outra oportunidade, de outro dia, que Deus quer.